Thank you again for joining us. This is one in a number of series that we call our Voices of Lyme series, where we spend time gaining a deeper understanding of the experiences of people with different disabilities. And before I turn the session over to this amazing panel that we have, who's going to share with you some of those experiences, I just want to take a quick moment to share a little bit more about Lyme Connect. And Lyme Connect is a not-for-profit organization, and our mission is to rebrand disability through achievement. We do that by attracting, preparing, and connecting high-potential professionals and university students, including veterans, who have all different types of disabilities. So if you're joining us and you're a person with a disability, we encourage you to join our network. We'll give you the information on how to do that. There is no cost or fee or anything to join our network or access any of our services. Once you join the network, you're eligible to apply for scholarships, leadership programs, internships, and full-time careers with the world's leading corporations, our corporate partners. In turn, many of you may be joining us from our different corporate partners, whether you're here in the US or in Canada. And I'm sure many of you are joining us because many of our panelists are joining from our corporate partners. In our relationship with all of you, our corporate partners, we support you in recruiting, onboarding, developing, retaining, and promoting all employees who have disabilities. So that's just a little bit about us, and we encourage you to join our community, whether as a corporate partner or a friend of Lyme or a network member. And now I'd like to just take a moment to introduce our moderator, Tim Rose. Tim is a business leader, change maker, advocate, role model, and entrepreneur who works passionately to advance accessibility, inclusion, and diversity initiatives. Tim believes his disability has given him a perspective and lens that very few people get to have. Tim has spent 15 years spanning the disability and corporate sectors, from nonprofit work to employment consulting, mentoring, and beyond. Since 2017, Tim has been a proud member of CIBC, holding roles including regulatory compliance, community investment, and as the lead for client experience accessibility for the 27% of Canadians who identify as having a disability. In 2024, Tim was inducted into the Canadian Disability Hall of Fame in the Achievers category. So I feel really lucky that we were able to get Tim to join us today to moderate this discussion, and I'm going to turn it over and welcome Tim and have him introduce us to some of our panelists. Thanks, Tim.
Great. Thank you so much, Renee. I really appreciate that fantastic introduction. And I'm really honored to be here today moderating this incredible group of panelists that we have for you around what it's like to be in the employment world, in the corporate world, when you have a mobility or a dexterity disability. But you don't want to hear from me a ton today. I'm just kind of the guy guiding the discussion. Who you want to hear from are the amazing three other people on screen. And I'm going to start with a question, just allow each of you to introduce yourselves, maybe provide a short visual description if you want, and tell us how you describe your disability, like how you want it referred to, as well as any pronouns, what company you work for, and what role you currently hold. And I'm going to rotate the order in which I ask people to answer questions. So on this first question, we'll start with Alan. Go ahead, Alan.
Hey, Ting. So, hi, everyone. For me, it's also an honor and a great opportunity to be here. I feel very grateful for this opportunity. I'm a white man. I'm Hispanic. I'm from Mexico. Right now, my background, the background in the back is white. Something a little bit about myself. As I say, I'm from Mexico. I'm from a very small town it's named Córdoba, Veracruz. But I've been living in the US for 14 years. Actually, I've been in a wheelchair for 14 years. I have a spinal cord injury where it can be named like an incomplete spinal cord injury, C3 to C5. Something about myself and my professional work. I'm a CPA, a certified public accountant. I work as a tax accountant, and I work for a firm named Ernst & Young. That is an accounting firm.
Great. Thanks so much, Alan. And I, terrible moderator off the start. I forgot to provide a visual description of myself. So if I could just ask the panelists to pause for 1 second, I'll just say I am a white Caucasian male with blonde hair. I'm currently wearing turquoise glasses and a matching turquoise Flintstone print shirt, which looks awesome. Okay, there. Oh, and I'm in a wheelchair. Also quite important. Okay, we will now go to Alicia.
Hi there. I'm also very happy to be here. My name is Alicia Jarvis. I'm a senior product manager at Bell Canada, which is a telecom and digital media company. I have brown hair and brown eyes. I'm a white woman, and I happen to have short arms.
Great. And finally, Karen, go ahead. Oh, and you're on mute, Karen.
It would help if I took myself off mute. Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Burns. I'm an IT project manager at Johnson & Johnson Technology Services, which is a part of Johnson & Johnson family of companies. You can't tell probably because it's a little dark here, but I'm a redheaded woman who's Caucasian, who's wearing a brown jacket and a black shirt. And you cannot see this because I'm on screen, but I do use a wheelchair because I was born with spina bifida, which, for those that don't know, it's a condition that occurs when the spine and the spinal cord don't form properly, damaging the nerves, which weakened my legs. And so I've used a wheelchair since the first time I could crawl into one at 5 years old, and have had some mobility issues concerning my legs. I did walk with braces for a while, but have switched to using my wheelchair. I've been at Johnson & Johnson for 17 years in various roles, but currently an IT project manager, and I'm really thrilled to be here to talk to everyone.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone. Really excited to get this conversation going. So my first question for all of the panelists, and you don't have to answer a question if you don't want to, but my first question is, can you talk a little bit about how your disability how you have experienced it in the workplace, and what are some of the challenges or opportunities, if you want to put a positive spin on it, that your disability has given you in the workplace? And for this question, maybe I'll ask Alicia to start, and then we'll go Karen, and then we'll go Alan.
Sure. So for me, the way my disability kind of presented in the workplace or what have you is that it started off with people not understanding what I could do. So my disability is very visible. I have short arms, so it was more like, hey, can Alicia actually do the job? Can she work? Can she do the physical tasks that are needed for any job, really? So it started kind of there, to moving into more of, I think, people's attitudes in terms of, okay, she can do, like, she has a computer, she has a keyboard, she can do the job, but can she really do the job, right? Yeah. So for me, it was more about people's attitudes than anything else of what I've been encountering in terms of challenges. In terms of opportunities, I think that what also presented in the workplace was, oh, she's much faster than we thought she would be. Oh, she can type at the same rate as anyone else. She can create documents. So once I started proving myself that, you know, all of those assumptions got debunked over time, then people started seeing, oh yeah, like, you know, it's not her short arms that that is the problem.
Right. That's great, Alicia. Thanks so much for sharing that. So Karen, over to you. Any ways that you've experienced your disability in the workplace or any challenges that it's posed?
I think, similarly to what Alicia was saying, I use a wheelchair every day, so it's very obvious that I have a disability. So a lot of times it's really that underestimation of what I can and cannot do. And then it's also really, really trying to get the planning done for, can I get into the building? Can I actually, I always say, we can have as many jobs as we want and we can do as well as we want, but if we can't get in the door physically, then how are we supposed to do the work? So it's really kind of those conversations, and have complete support in everyone that I've worked with in trying to, help make sure that I have a workstation that I can get to, that I have things that I might need, and any challenges that I've actually had and met with, they've been very supportive and made sure that I've had what I need to get there. And one of the things that's beneficial to me is that it's allowed me to help others as well, because for many, many years, I always kind of never thought of myself as having a disability. It was like just something that I had to do things a little bit differently. I don't run like everybody else, but I could still do everything everyone else could, just in a different way. And so when I get people to kind of look at the differences that we all do and the things that no one does everything alike, and everyone does things differently in their own way. No one puts on their pants the same way. No one walks out the door the same way. Why do we always put everybody into a box where we're assumed that we have to do things a certain way? It's really helped me get people to think, especially because I'm a project manager. So I always kind of think of outside of the box of what we can do, because all my life I've had to think of alternative options of what we can do or what I can do to get somewhere or to do something. And how could I still experience everything the same as everyone else, just a little differently? So I kind of try to apply that as well within my work, and then also help others to realize that as well, and help managers and help people that don't have a disability experience that. And I guarantee that I always tell people, if you don't think that you have a disability, think about it for a minute, because you always go through ebbs and flows of having abilities and disabilities, and let opportunities to kind of look at things from a different perspective and understand different people. So it's kind of looking at that viewpoint and seeing, oh, I might have this one day. It might occur to me, I might know someone. So how can I really look at that person versus the disability?
That's great, Karen. Thanks so much for that. And there's so many great points in there. And I see a couple of people putting questions in the chat. I have noted them. We will get to them at the end, and we'll get through as many as we can. So please, Kevin, Tom, others, please keep putting questions in the chat. But we'll go to you, Alan, for a few quick remarks on what the other two have spoken about as well.
I think in my personal life, or my personal opinion, like actually the challenges started from the beginning when I graduated from college. Like trying to get opportunity to get to work, not like no. Actually, it was not only like at the work. It was just getting out of the college, because like I remember like applying for the like as an accountant in taxes. I was applying to different jobs, and I was like trying to get like something related to tax, but for me it was really, really difficult to find an internship, like just like before graduating from college. Like I remember having like a lot of interviews. Like I'm a person of numbers and thinking like, if I can do as much as interviews that I'm gonna get something. But it was very, very tricky. Like because probably at some point I was thinking probably it's my interview skills or something like that, but or probably was because my disability, because as Karen says, like I'm in a wheelchair is something that you cannot like hide, like something that people are gonna see that you are in a wheelchair. And in those interviews I remember having like, and I had like 35 interviews up to I get the 36th interview, and EY was a company that gave me the opportunity to be part of their interns, and then all my professional career started since then. But like I think at some point we had so many like as a person with a disability, we had so many like difficulties, like for example getting to the office, like getting ready in the mornings, like transportation, like as Karen says, like open the doors from the building, like how accessible is the restroom, like all those type of little things it has been some experience in the workplace where I had some challenge, but I try to have like a, you know, a mindset where those challenges can be overcome.
That's great, Alan. Thanks so much, and I completely resonate with what all of you have said. And so this is fantastic. One of the unique challenges that you have when you have a physical and a very visible disability, and you've already kind of mentioned this, is that it's hard to not disclose. So I want to talk a little bit about disclosure because we often talk about that in disability employment spaces, but for those with our types of disabilities, disclosure is often a bit of a different conversation. So I'll start with Karen on this one. And Karen, maybe can you talk a little bit about, have you ever had situations either online or where you did have to just choose to disclose or not disclose? And how has your journey with disclosure been? Anything you want to kind of jump in on that topic?
This is a very interesting topic for me because for many years I was like, I didn't really talk around my disability. I was kind of always raised. I have my brother. He can walk and do a lot of things. So everything that he did, I kind of had to do. So I never really thought of myself as being disabled and use that as much as it's just a part of who I am. It's one piece of the whole thing. And then as I've gotten older and as I've kind of experienced more within the workplace, I realized that I kind of have a voice for this community. And I was having such a great experience and seeing some challenges that other people were having and saying, I could really help out and I could really be that voice and kind of help bring a change to the company. So I'm kind of like in that role now, really enjoying what I'm doing. And I'm really trying to just raise that up as much as I can. So for disclosure for me, I never really did much in the past, but as I've gotten more and more comfortable kind of with who I am and kind of being that voice, I've raised it and I've brought it up in more conversations. The funny thing is, though, during the pandemic, because I am on screen all the time, no one can tell that I use a wheelchair. So I don't usually bring it up unless it's on a topic or I make a joke or something comes up in a conversation that might lead to it on a camera like this. However, when I then go back into the office to meet people that I may have met virtually online and then meet in person, and I don't kind of disclose that I use a wheelchair, for just that brief moment, I'll get a double take. Like, oh,
Right.
I didn't expect that kind of look. And it's a very subtle move, but it's kind of like, I always like surprising people sometimes that way, just because I want to be like, okay, you've met me, you've worked with me a lot. Now here I am, just as I am. And it's kind of, it doesn't really change how they think about me, but it kind of brings another layer to who I am. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's great, Karen. Thanks so much for sharing that. Alan, anything you want to add around disclosure? I know you talked about it a little bit in your previous answer.
Yeah, I think for disclosure and someone with a disability, I think you need to be brave sometimes, you know, like you need to be confident of yourself and say like, okay, I have a disability. I'm very similar as Karen, like I work from home most of the time. I don't have to travel to clients, or it's like most of the things are like, you know, like Teams calls, Zoom. So people don't see that I'm in a wheelchair as well. And then when I go to the office, people see me that I'm in a wheelchair, of course. But sometimes I just mention that, like, you know, I'm in a wheelchair, I have a disability, I do sports and cycle, things like that, you know, like to kind of like break the ice and have a conversation with managers or other colleagues. But the point is like, it is important to, as a person with a disability, just raise your voice and just be strong, be confident, and say what is your life, you know, what are your needs. Something that I really want to mention, this is a personal situation, like when I got my internship with Ernst & Young, I was very worried of telling like the recruiters like, hey, I'm in a wheelchair, and because they were like telling me like, hey, you need to travel to Chicago, you need to travel to this like Orlando for this like international internship conference, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm not intern, but I'm gonna start telling that I'm in a wheelchair and I need accommodations and I need like some support in the hotel, or I'm not able to be by myself, like if I need to dress or get ready for the meeting or something. It's just like in those type of situations, people that are here and like has a disability, just be strong, just be yourself, just be, if the firm or the company is giving you to be part of their workforce, just be open and tell them and raise your voice and share your needs, because that's gonna be key in your performance as an employee.
I love that. I love the idea of raising your voice and sharing your needs. That's so great, Alan. Thank you. Alicia, anything you want to talk about around disclosure and how you have maybe navigated some of those conversations?
For me, that conversation is almost, I would say, backwards to what we've just been talking about, is that because I have an upper body limb difference, the disclosure conversation is usually about trying to debunk other people's assumptions about what I can and cannot do, because they've already made up their mind. So they've
Right.
already made up their mind that I'm gonna need all of this technology and accommodations, and it's just gonna be this big hurdle. And so I have to kind of roll that back and say, hey, no, I can type, I can, like, I don't actually need a lot of accommodations. And I need to, in those conversations, I often find myself trying to actually flip the conversation off my disability and onto the skills that I do have.
Right. That's so great. So on to the next question, and we've all talked a lot already about the support networks that we've had and the great supportive employers that you've all had in helping you get where you are today. I want to dive into that a little bit more and ask, what are some of those kind of things that employers have done to either support you or to kind of demonstrate your value, or the way they see you, and what are some of the positive steps that you've seen employers take to help people with our level of disabilities get to where they want to be? And maybe on this one, we'll start with Alan and then go Alicia and then Karen.
Going back again with my situation with my internship and the 35 interviews and rejections, and the 36 with the Ernst & Young giving me this opportunity for my internship, and now I'm a senior. It's just like they never saw me, and actually I feel grateful with the firm, and I feel loyal to the firm because I have this feeling of gratitude. They never saw me as someone that cannot do the things. They always saw me like someone that is capable. They didn't saw my disability. They saw my abilities to do something for the benefit of the group. And since the first day that I've been with the firm, I had seen that, and that's why I feel very grateful working in the last 4.5 years for Ernst & Young. Going back again to the last question, like raising your voice and express your needs. Actually, like, of course, EY, they provide accommodations, like, okay, we have adjustable desk, we have we have elevators, we have restrooms, accommodations, things like that. But actually, what else? Like, because those are things that, of course, are very important. But what else? What we can do to make a difference and impact in the life of our employees? Part of the emblem or logo of Ernst & Young is like building a better working work. How we can build a better working world for people with disabilities in our company. And this is something and a question that has been in our mind. And actually, I started like a project with Lori Goldman, another group of people, another like group of like people that were also for Ernst & Young. And I just actually, what I did, I just told them, like, for me as a person with a disability, it is hard transportation. Like, I live in Dallas, Texas, and the public transportation is not the most efficient. And if I need to go to the office, or I need to go to a social event or something, for me, transportation is very difficult. And actually,
Yeah.
like getting an adaptable vehicle is like very, very expensive. And I share like and I just express with them like a difficulty and a problem, and we came with a solution. I also express the like home health care system. As a person with a disability, I need some help like getting ready, taking a shower, transferring to a toilet, doing the personal things, you know, to get ready to get it to work. And people don't like employers don't see that. Like actually the challenge starts from the first seconds when I wake up and I want to transfer to my bed. So I just share my voice with EY, and we have been start working in this project that actually has been approved, where EY is gonna be willing to pay for home healthcare assistance for people with disability. They're gonna be willing to pay for, because those type of expenses are are huge, and sometimes can be out of pocket because insurance don't pay for that. And actually also EY is gonna be helping like providing the cost for bill modifications, because like for example if I need a bill modification, it can cost up to $90,000, and plus the car is so expensive. So Ernst & Young actually he has been the first company to provide a help with like with those type of like, you know, issues. Like we saw the issue home healthcare assistant and actually driving transportation, and they're supporting, they're helping, they're not only providing just like those regular accommodations, they're doing something that can be an impact in the life of a person with a disability in the firm.
That's so great. Thanks for sharing that story, Alan. That's really an example of a company really stepping up. And I see a comment in the chat from Kevin who says that he feels that a lot of times companies say they support people with disabilities, but when you email them or contact them on LinkedIn, it can feel like a different story. And Kevin, I totally get that, and I hear that, and we've all been through that, but I do want to assure you there are companies that get it. And there aren't as many as there should be, but there are companies that get it. So I just want to add that in, but that's such a great story. So Alicia, do you want to talk about any positive stories that you've had around employers really stepping up to the plate for you?
Sure. So my best experiences have been with both employers and just my direct manager, right from the start, admitting that they don't know, that this is new for them, and being truly authentic in the conversation. So you know, and also taking a positive attitude in that conversation where they're willing to trust me in what I say back to them. When I had one manager in particular where our first conversation was, hey, what can I do to help you be successful in this job? And so just that question, it wasn't about workplace accommodations. It wasn't coming from a checkbox that's on a checklist somewhere. It was truly authentic in the way that he asked it. And it opened up for a conversation about not just what I physically needed, like an external mouse, external keyboard, and accommodations that I physically needed, but it opened up the conversation to those things that Alan talked about, like getting ready in the morning, and the fact that, you know, sometimes I just don't have a good day in the morning, and sometimes if you're telling me to come into the office, I'm not going to get there until 10 a.m. because the morning isn't just working for me. And having those conversations about having good days and bad days, and how we could relate to one another in really real practical ways that that manager may not have identified as a person with a disability, but we found common ground in that discussion of you know, hey, like, yeah, like I have kids, and sometimes I have to adjust my mornings too. So it laid the playing field for just a very open and authentic relationship right off the start. And I think that's what's essential for employers to know and realize, is that it's the attitude coming into the conversation of if you want me to be authentic with you, then you have to come to the plate and be authentic too.
That's so great, and I want to put that mantra on a T-shirt or something about authenticity. I think that's so great. Karen, anything you want to add around positive experiences that you've had either at J&J or elsewhere?
So it's actually really funny because I've had a really supportive manager um, throughout my careers. I've had many managers, but the one I have right now is I've had for a couple of years, and I love her, and she's very open, has discussions with all of her colleagues, and she's really, my entire department's been really supportive of having more of those disability conversations, and even my company, expanding that and giving me that voice and allowing me to have that opportunity to be that voice and to give more to J&J for the disability community. So I'm really lucky there. Whenever I recently actually had an issue where I broke my wheelchair, and it was one of the front tires, and I was trying to go through the process of trying to get a new chair or get someone to come fix my chair, which should sound easy, but it's easier to break your foot, go to the hospital and get it fixed than it is to get your chair fixed, I found out. And it's a matter of, with all the great resources that we had, it still took about 6 weeks for it to fully get fixed, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, for the fact that this is my mode of transportation to get around. That's, my company though has been incredibly, so like, the great resources, my manager, my senior managers, all were kind of like shocked by the fact that it was going to take that long. And I said, well, it has to go through insurance, and you have to find the company, they have to come out, they have to order the parts, then they had to fix it. And I was like, it really is, going into the hospital and breaking your foot would be easier than that. And coming out, it
Yeah.
would be a lot quicker to get around. But and it kind of kept me at home for a while, and I've had that support from my manager, from colleagues,
Yeah.
and everyone around me. So that's been really great.
That's so great to hear, and I just want to echo, that frustration that we can experience when our wheelchairs, our mobility devices break, and it does take longer than it takes for even some minor surgeries sometimes to get things fixed on both sides of the border, I know. So I want to talk about advice and what advice you would have for all of the job seekers and amazing Live Network members, community members that might be on this webinar, about how to talk around or talk about having a physical disability. So any tips, any tricks that you found that work really well, any monikers or things that you want to share with the group around how to broach, to borrow your term, Alan, how to broach these brave conversations. Anything you want to share? We'll start with Alicia on this one, and then go Karen, and then Alan.
I think the best advice I could give anyone is keep the conversation positive. Whether if you are entering into some of these difficult conversations, sometimes it's hard to keep a positive light and a positive attitude about it, especially if you've had negative experiences in the past. But it's actually really important that you do stay positive and emphasize your skills and abilities, because it does change the conversation. And it allows for open dialogue. And if you're coming at any conversation with frustration, then that is often felt in the room. So I would say come at it positively, know your skills and abilities, and trust yourself, and trust that you can do the job in that conversation, no matter what.
That's so great. So we'll go to Karen next on this one. Any advice for the group at large?
I always say try to create a comfortable environment. So I'm a very open person. I'm a very outspoken person. So I kind of like to just, I will try to make anyone feel comfortable based on the person that they're in. If I'm with a big team or a bigger discussion, I will probably be the first one to crack a joke. to kind of lighten the fact that this, this is a serious discussion, but it's not that serious of a discussion. It's a part of everything that we go through. Everyone has these discussions. So, everyone has abilities and disabilities. So if you start to kind of realize that the person across from you probably has a story similar, or probably has something, or relates, or knows someone, or even if they don't, they might be curious about it. That opens up a dialogue. So just kind of like, it's one of those things where it's, instead of someone kind of trying to understand or attack you, kind of go for it first, be like, this is who I am. Kind of let's crack a joke about something a little bit, like, oh my gosh, I accidentally fell in front of my VP's desk and spilled coffee all over their desk because my wheelchair hit on a snag on the rug and I went flipping out of my chair. Yes, I'm going to laugh about that now. At the time, it was entirely embarrassing and I couldn't believe I did that. But that's life. It happens. Everyone kind of goes through these things. And as soon as we start realizing that we're all human and we're all a person and we can have those conversations, it'll go a lot smoother.
That's so great, Karen. Thank you so much. And we've all spilled coffee on our VP's desk, either metaphorically or otherwise. So Alan, any advice that you can give to the people attending the webinar today?
I think an advice I can give for someone that is here in the webinar and has a disability, I believe the fear is the worst disability, because when we had fear is we stop our ability to do things and move forward, and all the fears, all the shame, all those stuff like thoughts and negative thoughts that can come to our mind start here. And it's not about our bodies, it's not about our ability to move our legs or our arms or everything starts here. And if you can have a mindset of like, I need to be open, I need to express who I am. I think people see that. People see that, and Alicia mentioned something about attitude. Attitude is key in everything. Like if you're having a conversation with an employer or anyone, HR or someone, attitude is key. Of course, if you have an issue, let's bring also with a solution of not only mention what is the problem, bring with a solution and come with that positive attitude, because that's key, and that really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, that's so great. Thanks so much, Alan. That's fantastic. So my next question, and I want to make sure we leave enough time for questions because we have had some great questions in the chat. But my next question is, so that previous question was aimed at all the job seekers and people with disabilities in the room. Now let's turn the tables and talk to any employers that might be on the webinar. What are some best practices that you can suggest to employers in terms of providing support for people with mobility or dexterity disabilities? So any advice for the companies themselves? And we'll start with Karen, and then we'll go Alan, and then finally Alicia.
I would say listen to your employees. One of the number one, and every level, not from the top to the bottom, really kind of go and listen to their voice and just trust in what they're saying. A lot of people with disabilities, we don't like to advertise that we have a disability because we're so fearful in the workplace. So it's really, bringing that fear level down and making sure we feel comfortable as well to be open.
That's great. Alan, any advice for employers?
I think sometimes I always tell people like, if you cannot explain how's the desert if you have never been in the desert. But I know it can be difficult to kind of like understand the full situation of someone with a disability, but I think empathy and sometimes try to put in the shoes of that person with the disability, that could make a big difference. Like that empathy, thinking you are not only an employee, you are not only someone that are here just as many other people, you are important to us, you're gonna be making a difference. Like I think in that situation with the employers or HR, as I said in the beginning, they don't see your things that you're not capable, they see what you're capable to do, because in some different ways Probably you are not a faster person like typing, but you are a very like you are great like as a team player, like as a someone working as a team with other employees. You know, you can have no strengths in some area or some weakness in some area, but you can also have strengths in other area. So I think at that point it's like for employers, it's just like just give the opportunity, just give the opportunity because like life in general for someone with disability is difficult. It's like different, and we have our challenge, and every single day we have a different type of challenge. If from as I say, from the first second when we wake up in the morning and we transfer to our chair, it's a challenge. And that's something that is key for the workforce, like problem solving, things like that. Just give it the opportunity. Just give it the opportunity, and I believe any people with disability can make a very huge positive impact in the company for any company. No.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much, Alan. And finally, Alicia, any advice that you have for employers?
Yeah, so take a learner's mindset, educate yourself. Yes, it's really important to listen to your employees, but also realize that it's not the job of your employees with disabilities to educate you. There's a ton of resources out there. There's podcasts, there's books, there's even movies, and there's lots and lots out there to educate you on disability issues. Take the initiative and educate yourself. Don't put it all on your employees with disabilities to educate you.
That's so great, and I think a great message to carry forward. So I've got one final question, and then we'll have a few minutes to go through the questions that are in the chat. So my final question is this: if I had a time machine and could get you to all go back and talk to your younger selves, so younger Alan, younger Alicia, younger Karen, what would you say to them about starting a career with a physical disability or mobility impairment? What are the things that you wish you knew when you were starting out in your career, whenever that was, that you would like to impart to people that are maybe in that process right now? So for this final question, we will start with Alicia, and then go Karen, and then finally Alan. So Alan, you'll have the last word of the panel questions here. Go ahead.
Wow, this is a tough one. What would I tell my younger self? I think I would tell her that she needs to trust herself in her abilities. Don't let anyone else's assumptions about what I can and cannot do influence my perspective. So I think that's the biggest advice that I would give my younger self, is to really know that you know yourself best, you know your skills best, you know what you can and cannot do, and don't let anyone shake that from you.
I love that. What a great closing message as well. Karen, if you could talk to younger Karen, what would you say?
Don't be afraid to set your own path. So a lot of the things that I learned in life is coming from, as a younger expectation of you're going to go to college, you're going to do this, you're going to work in this environment. So really for me, it's don't be afraid to really do something different or out of the box, or be afraid because of my disability, I can't do something. And I never kind of have that, but I think looking back now, there's a couple of ways that I probably would have not wanted, kind of grab something a little bit harder earlier in life that I, now I'm struggling to kind of get to a little bit more. Does that make sense? Having that
Absolutely.
just ability to just take more challenges as I was younger.
Absolutely. And finally, Alan, if you could talk to your younger self, what would you say?
I think I will say that excellence has no limitations. Like, no matter what you do, you can do better. Like, you can keep improving. And no matter if you fail, it's okay if you fail. It's okay if you like, you go to the floor, just wake up and keep trying. And keep trying. And if someone say no to you, that no means that it's not gonna be that no is gonna be forever. Just keep trying. Keep trying and keep trying. And always with a positive attitude, always with faith, always with thinking about yourself that you can do things, that you can do, that you can get your bachelor, that you can get a master, you can do better in your education, that you can go to a company, make a difference. Like, it's not just waking up every single day and going to work as a routine. It's just like, I'm a person with disability and embrace my disability. I feel proud of like who I am. I enjoy this moment. I enjoy this person, and I want to do a positive impact to the people around me. And I think that's something that I will share to me, like, to myself as a younger person. Like, keep trying, never give up, keep trying. Even if people say no to you, that doesn't mean that it's gonna be always. Just keep trying.
I love that. And can I just say thank you to all three panelists for the incredible mic drop moment that you all just had. Like, you all had a quotable quote right there that I would like to stick on a plaque and stick on a wall in the giant hall of disability employment knowledge. So, like, thank you all so much for dropping the mic so expertly. And I know our audience really appreciate it.